Hi, thanks for coming. Welcome to SANDEMANs Live. We are in Berlin, what was formerly East Berlin. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. We got a couple of minutes. We'll let any latecomers show up, so we'll just hang out here for a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about graffiti and street art, anarchists, punks, revolutionaries. If you know anybody that's into anything like that, you got friends, family members, just tag them below in the comments feed because they don't want to miss this. This is going to be an epic 30-minute live streaming tour, so make sure you're here for that. As you look around, you can see these beautiful train tracks, this amazing view. We're pretty lucky today. There was a chance it could be raining, so knock on garbage. Hopefully it stays this way. I think we're about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 15 degrees Celsius if you want to know how we're feeling in Berlin. Also, if this is your first time watching, leave in the comments where you are, just so we get an idea of how many people around the world are watching this and what time it is there, what time of day is best for people in different time zones to see this. Because we're 6 p.m. in Berlin right now, 5 in London, noon in New York, 9 a.m. in LA. If I got any friends or family members over on the West Coast watching this live, thanks for tuning in to the Dunloppers, is what Manu calls my fan group. We're almost about to get going. We're just waiting for a few more people. So I didn't mention this yet, but this is my first ever live stream. So if we have any technical difficulties, if there's any problems with the sound or the video, please just stand by. We should get it sorted out pretty quickly. We have an amazing tech team with us today trying to keep track of all the things with the wires and the cables. So just stand by with us in case anything goes wrong. Hopefully we got no problems, no hiccups at all, and this thing just flies smooth right on through. We are just about to get going. So any newcomers, I'd like to welcome you in. Again, we are live in Berlin. We got a few people coming. Are we ready to go? All right, here we are. Hi, I'm Max Dunlop, and welcome to SANDEMANs Live in Berlin. We're here at the Warschauer Straße S-Bahn stop in a neighborhood called Friedrichshain. This was formerly East Berlin. This used to be East Germany. Now, this is my first ever live streaming video. The company did a couple last week. Can you give a thumbs up in the comments feed if you saw last Thursday or Friday, the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Chris Sandeman, set this whole project off. I'm gonna keep moving it on. Now for the newcomers, anybody this is your first one, I'll just explain how it works. It's a live, free walking tour. Doesn't matter how much money you have, you don't have to buy a ticket, anybody's welcome to see it. But hopefully, if you think it was worth it, at the end of the video, there's a donations button just below. Just click on that, anything you can give it means so much to us. And I say us because it's not just me, it's a whole team. We got everybody on the other side of the camera to think about too. Well, let's get started. Today we're going to talk about graffiti, street art, punks, anarchists, revolutionaries. This is really why I came to Berlin. I'm an artist, a painter, and a musician, a drummer. This is the Berlin that pulled me in 12 years ago. Back in 2008 was the first time I came, and now I got a German wife and 2 little German kids. I kind of got stuck. I might be here forever. But a lot of people wonder, they ask me, Max, how did Berlin make this amazing transformation? It wasn't that long ago. Oh, we got some beatboxers setting up here. We got, I think it's El Grande. Here they go. Oh, they're just starting to get going. This is what I'm talking about. The city never stops partying. This is the Warschauer Bridge right here. Just down this way, down the bridge, is the River Spree, the East Side Gallery, what was West Berlin, a neighborhood called Kreuzberg. Give a thumbs up or a heart sign in the comments if you'd like to see any of that down there. The bridge is a little narrow, so follow me as we head down this direction. Now, as I was saying, a lot of people wonder, how did Berlin transform. It wasn't that long ago. This city was the capital of the Nazi military dictatorship, and now it's a contemporary art center with, some people say, the best techno club scene in the world. Well, the reason for that transformation was actually because of the wall itself. People forget the wall was a circle that went around West Berlin, because West Berlin was in the middle of communist East Germany. Now, if you had all the documents and the paperwork, there was one highway you were allowed to use to go back and forth. But why would you want to do that? If you were West German, you could live up in Hamburg and Frankfurt, down in the Alps and Bavaria. Munich is beautiful. Why would you want to live in half a city surrounded by a wall with Soviet machine guns, American, French, British soldiers marching around? And on top of all that, there's no jobs. Most of the businesses in West Germany left, relocated to the big cities in West Germany, and the city starts to empty out. Now, the government still wanted to have a town, they just needed people. So they needed to incentivize people to move into the West. Now, in West Germany during the Cold War, when you graduated high school, you had to do mandatory military service. You had to join the army by law. But if you moved to West Berlin, you didn't have to do that. So this city starts to fill up with people that don't want to be in the army. And think about that. Who doesn't want to be in the army? Those are the artists, the musicians, the punks, and the anarchists. And you start to get this scene, you start to get this vibe developing in the West. Now, on the other side of the wall, out in the East, it's a one-party system. The military and the government had complete control over the media, what you were allowed to say. It's all controlled by one party state. Repression on one side, freedom on the other, and when the wall comes down on the 9th of November 1989, they come together and this huge party starts. That's what we're going to see here. Because the Communist Party, it wasn't just a political party, it was all the employers. And overnight, all these factories and warehouses, they're abandoned here in the East. This was a place called R.A.W. It's an abbreviation for Reichsbahnausbesserungswerk. That's actually one 7-syllable German word. It means National Train Repair Yard. This was built in the late 1800s by the Emperor of Germany, and then one violent leader after another used it for their regime. You had Kaiser Wilhelm II using these factories in World War I, Adolf Hitler using these factories in World War II, and then during the Cold War, Walter Ulbricht, Erich Honecker, the communist leaders. And then in 1990, the first time in 100 years, from 1890 to 1990, there's not a ruthless dictator, and the people of Berlin get to decide what to do with these factories. Well, they turn them all into techno clubs and they start dancing and they cover everything with paintings. Here is a brand new mural by a group called the Low Bros. You can see the scaffolding is out front. That paint's probably still wet. It's called Check Your Privilege. This is a political piece about how we need to come together as a globe and dismantle the racist systems that are keeping inequality on this planet. We're going to go around and see a lot of different pieces, street art, graffiti, stencils, paste up by artists from all over the world. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce any of these artists' names. They're in all different languages and I'm probably going to destroy them. So I'm sorry ahead of time. But this is probably my favorite piece in the whole city. We'll come down here to the fence. It's by a Portuguese artist called Bordalo too. You see that bird, the toucan? He calls it a trash animal. It's not just a picture. He goes around the city and finds car doors, bike frames, just junk, and then welds it and ties it all together and makes these animals. This is actually one of his smallest pieces. If you're ever in Lisbon in Portugal, the city is full of his stuff. Sometimes they're the whole length of a building long. We're going to see so much work today. People tend to forget that this is all illegal. You're not allowed to do graffiti. You might wonder, why is there so much stuff everywhere? Well, Berlin's broke. Berlin's more than broke. It's in an insane amount of debt. It actually owes 60 billion euros to the federal government. You know, if the largest city in Germany, if Berlin just disappeared overnight, the country would be worth more money. That's unlike anywhere else in the world. And what do you do when you don't have any money? One of the first things you take out of the budget is painting over graffiti. That's why we're going to see so much stuff, but you don't know exactly what we're going to see because other artists are constantly painting over the stuff. But the fact that it is illegal means speed is important. You have to do as much work as possible at home in your studio. So if you can prepare works on paper to paste up, if you can hand cut multiple stencils to get ready, anything you can do, because when you go out at night to do the piece, you're going to have a lookout on both ends of the alleyway looking for police. You're going to have some people with your supplies getting ready to come in. You're going to have to, very good chance you're going to have to run from the police. So speed is of the essence. Now, just have Manu and myself not fall down the stairs. We're trying to do a live stream and not become a meme. Here we have an ATM machine, a perfect thing to put some artwork onto. Let's see what we got. Oh, this is an amazing, a new piece by a Polish artist. If you come a little bit closer, we can just make out the name. S.C. Szyman is Polish. And then in Latin, Sic Transit Gloria Mundi. Thus passes the glory of the world. 2020, I think they're talking about the end of the American Empire. Here we have a couple of paste-up pieces by Colombian artists, Toxicómano and R.A.W. This is sort of a throwback to the Uncle Sam. Join the military, but instead in Spanish, join chaos. And then come down a little bit lower. This is by an artist named Primu. Goes by an alias, I don't think I'm allowed to say it on the live feed, F Wars. But this is Alice in Wonderland, but instead of looking into Wonderland, she's looking at a pixelated version of herself, this digital version that we've all become, which is pretty ironic because now you're watching a digital version of me in the live feed. Here is a fantastic stencil by a Swiss artist named Jinks, Kunst. It's a 4-color stencil. This is a lot of work. So 4 giant pieces of cardboard this size with an X-Acto knife by hand, cutting out for the dark brown shapes, the light brown shapes, the black shapes, and the white shapes. And one at a time, you put those up, you spray through the stencil, and you can get an almost photorealistic image of a punk rocker in about 17 seconds on the wall. Let's look around here and see what else we have. A bunch of people's oh, this is great. This is the Banksy of Palestine, they call them. Stencil cakes. Really heavy political artist. You can see this guy is trying to kill himself with the fast food, but he can't get it in his mouth because of the corona mask. Now, stencils are actually what I used to make a lot when I was a kid growing up. Like I said, I'm a drummer, a musician. I was in lots of punk bands as a kid, and to promote our shows, we would take brown paper shopping bags, and in the bottom of the bag with an X-Acto knife, we would cut out the stencil of our band name. So you could walk with the spray can in your hand in the paper bag, and as you walk down the street, you just pretend like you're tying your shoe, but you're really spraying your band name onto the sidewalk through the bottom of the bag. And if the police show up, you can just leave the paper bag, walk away, and say, I don't know what happened. So we look around for, oh, these are the kings of Berlin. These are the godfathers. This is a huge collective of sprayers called One Up, One United Power. They're absolutely everywhere, all over the world. Actually, recently off the Philippines, they made a underwater coral of their own stuff. Now, they're so prolific. As we walk around, just keep your eyes out on the walls. I'm sure we'll see a lot more one-ups. What they don't want you to do in the city, oh yeah, see here, there's a couple on the wall right up there. What they don't want you to do in the city anymore, what they do have a budget to stop, is people painting on trains. If you paint on a train car, a S-Bahn, an U-Bahn, a regional train, if you paint on that, it's a 2,000 euro fine. 2,000 euros. What does that do? That makes people really, really, really want to paint on train cars. So especially the group One Up are probably the most prolific of all of it. When they paint a train car, they don't just paint it. They film themselves doing it, and when they're done painting on it, they post it on YouTube. When you're done watching this video, go over to YouTube later and put up One Up Berlin S-Bahn. There's all these footage. It'll be 7 or 8 people in the middle of the night. They can't go into the rail yard, remember, because of the drones with the night vision. So 7, 8 guys with bandanas, with scarves over their face, come up in the middle of the night. Everybody has a spray can in each hand, multiple cans in each pocket. They run up to the train on the platform right at the stop. And in the 90 seconds, while the train is at the train stop, it's choreographed like a ballet. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. And they spray their section. And in that short amount of time, as the train pulls out of the station in big block bubble letters, it says One Up just down the side. You know, I recently, about a week ago, I was watching one of their newest videos, and a guy took 10 different spray cans, duct taped them together, put a stick across all the nozzles so he could just press the trigger on one, and 10 cans went up, and like a rainbow sprayed One Up down the side of the train car as it pulled up. We're gonna keep our eyes up for stuff, because like I said, you never know exactly what we're gonna see. Stuff gets painted over so quickly. Oh, I can just see over the fence. This is a brother team called Felix and Matthias Gephart. This picture we're gonna see was not illegal. They were hired by Haubentaucher, this empty factory warehouse here that now is a beer garden swimming pool, to paint this absolutely astonishing mural on the side. Let's get a little bit closer so we can get a good view of it. You can see there is a big man with a gun and a little boy with a rock behind his back. It's almost makes you think of the story of David and Goliath, being overwhelmed, being small, being helpless with this giant thing over you. That's a lot of what graffiti is. You know, think about it. All day, you live your life, you walk around. How many times do you see a corporate name or a corporate logo? You can't avoid it. How many times did you see Coca-Cola today? So graffiti is just a way for regular people to say, you know what you're gonna see? You're gonna see my name today. Behind me is sort of an example of everything that this place RAW is about. This was a factory built by Kaiser Wilhelm II. He loses World War I, he gets kicked out, and after World War II, the communists come in, and there's a huge communist memorial in front of it. And on top of it all, in the 90s, when the capitalists defeated the communists, they opened a McDonald's down the street. And a bunch of the punks went to the McDonald's, stole the McDonald's arch, and threw it up on the rooftop there. You can just see the arches up there. Now, I grew up in the 80s. And in the 80s, the big scene was the punk scene. And selling out was really the worst thing that you could do. You were against the man, you were against the system, the establishment, and you couldn't make any money. And that was where I came from. And it sort of escalated all the way to the 90s, when the band Nirvana was the most famous band in the world. Kurt Cobain made all this money, and he puts a shotgun in his mouth and pulls the trigger and commits suicide. And everybody said, oh man, if selling out is so bad you have to shoot yourself in the face, maybe we need to rethink what we're doing. And what's the next movement that comes right after punk in the 90s? It's hip hop. Some stuff is very similar. They're against the police, they're against the government, but their ideas about money are different. They're trying to make themselves as much money as possible. Murals like this would have never existed in the 80s. This giant, beautiful mural with the birds and the ice is by an artist named Tom HRVB. But take a little bit closer look there, up in the corner. That's the Jägermeister symbol. This is a paid advertisement. A giant international corporation hired a graffiti artist to paint an ad. This is something you would not have seen in the 80s, even the 90s. But in 2020, most street artists and graffiti artists have Instagram handles. They promote their stuff online. You can see there's the full giveaway of the Jägermeister bottle there in the corner. But most street artists hashtag the paint maker. Most people love Montana colors because they're trying to get sponsored by the paint promoters. If you could get unlimited cases of free spray paint, who wouldn't want to do that? Let's take a look around, see what else we have. This is one of my very, very, very favorite pieces. An artist named Ostep. This is sort of an art history joke. You see the woman sitting there eating a doner kebab, but it's referencing the woman in gold, the Gustav Klimt portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer. You know, the Gustav Klimt portrait was painted in 1907. It was stolen by the Nazis in 1941. The family didn't get the picture back until 2006, the descendants of the woman in the picture. And then, as soon as they got it, they sold it at auction for $135 million. And now it's at the Neue Gallery Museum. If anybody's in New York City, they can go check out the original. But you've seen the silver doner kebab one here now. Here we have a paste up. This is a twisted image. Multicultural dreamer. This sign around a skinhead. Wow, that really makes you think. Now, I come here a lot, not just to look at the art, but to play music. I said before, I'm a drummer, and just down this alleyway here is a music studio called Noisy Rooms. They have amps, guitars, about 100 rooms that you can rent for a few hours to play. Now, let's talk about skateboarding. It's a lot like graffiti, right? You're not going to get paid. You're not going to win anything. Skateboarding, all you do is fall face forward on the cement over and over again. But what do you do when you skateboard? You wear sneakers. So in the last few years, the big sneaker companies started to get into skateboarding shoes. We're talking about Nike, Adidas, and they started to go out around cities, hand out free sneakers. They started to endorse people. They started their own teams, and they started taking over local skate spots and giving them sponsorship. Like I said, this whole idea of what selling out is continues to change. Let's look around for some more murals. Oh man, this is an Estonian artist. Oh, this is great. You'll see these stencils all over the place. We have three colors, a gray, a white, and a black, and then at the last minute, they put a little red, a porcupine on a laptop with a Bluetooth earpiece. My first reaction when I think of that, you know, you start laughing. What's a porcupine doing on a laptop? And then you think, wait, we're just animals too. We're a bunch of primates. What are a bunch of hairless monkeys doing on a laptop watching a live stream? And you realize how ridiculous everything in life is. This was a skate park. You can just make out the sounds of people skating on the inside, but this got taken over by Nike, and now it's the Nike skateboard shelter. We might be able to peek inside. I might get yelled at. But if you don't get yelled at, you're not doing it right. Here we have two different versions of the club situation. If you want to party in Berlin, the clubs don't close at night. People come here Friday night and go home Sunday morning. If you want to party for days, you can go to the White Rabbit. But if you only have 3 minutes, here's the smallest club in the world. It's an old phone booth. You go in, you pick a song on the side. There's a smoke machine, there's lasers. And if I get 250 comments, you want me to go in there, we'll come back, film another video, and show you the inside of the world's smallest club. How do we learn history anywhere? In a country, in a family? How do you learn what happened before us and not have it overwhelm us? You know, every country has horrible things that happened in the past. This is Germany, this is Berlin. It's a horrific past. How do you learn that stuff? And here they have to learn that. You know, every high school kid in the city of Berlin has to go and take a field trip to the former concentration camp of Sachsenhausen while they're in school. They confront the crimes of the past directly. But how do you do that and not have it overwhelm you, not have it burden you, not have it wear you down? How can you be a kid that's born now, live your life and be happy, but understand the past? Well, right around the corner, I think there is a perfect example of this way of understanding the past, way of learning from it, but not erasing it, of confronting it, but not being overwhelmed by it. Adolf Hitler, when he was the military dictator here, built a giant munitions bunker. This was to keep bullets and ammunition safe from Allied bombers, so they could put them onto the trains and invade the Soviet Union in the largest military action in the history of the planet Earth. And now what is it? Now it's a rock climbing wall. This place that was designed to kill people is now where human beings from around the world come together, hang out, and help each other get physically fit. You can't have a more drastic transformation than that. It's absolutely beautiful to look at. You could imagine what they would have thought with their 1,000-year Reich they were going to start if they could come here in 2020 and it's just people dancing and rock climbing. Oh, here's a piece by an artist called Osh, a political piece, a pretty terrifying piece about in the future when natural resources get more scarce. Well, the largest militaries control all the access to natural resources, to water in particular. Now, right here, we have a fantastic techno club that's called Cassiopeia. Now, some people, they have live music here too. You can see bands. But if you were wondering why do they love electronic music so much in Berlin? I mean, you'll hear people listening to house and techno at 7 in the morning when they wake up. It is really the soundtrack of the city. But think about this. By the time you get to the 70s, the first generation of people living in Berlin that were born after Nazism and the Second World War, those people are now in their 20s. They're now grown up. People that didn't see any of those horrors. They just heard about it at school. And they want to create a new culture. They want new art, new music. And in 1980, the Roland drum machine, the 808, the TR-808 is invented, and there's a new sound. The electronic programmable drum machine gives them exactly what they were looking for in Berlin. It's music unlike anything anyone has ever played in the history of the planet Earth. And this electronic music becomes the soundtrack, the essence to what they were trying to do here in Berlin. Break from the past, understand it, and create something new. Now, you don't just have paintings, paste-ups, stencils, stickers. Some people make actual sculptures and come in the middle of the night with rock climbing harnesses and bolt them to the walls. That's a piece by an artist named Tick Toy. Absolutely hilarious with those teeth and the eyeball. Why is this still like this? Why isn't this a Burger King and an H&M? How is it still warehouses run by young people? Everybody's partying. This is the largest city in the richest country in Europe. Well, let me finish today by telling you a story about a huge riot that changed people's mindset about the squatters movement. So you know the Berlin Wall comes down the 9th of November 1989. And when that wall comes down, so many people leave the East because now they're allowed to. And they head to West Germany for economic opportunity, for jobs and to drink Coca-Cola and listen to Michael Jackson. So the East starts to be empty. And a block away from here, there's a street called Mainzer Straße, and that street fills up with squatters. Every building on both sides, the whole block long, is squatters. And they all have different mindsets. There's an anarchist squat, there's a feminist squat, there's metal sculptors, there's painters, there's a squad of drag queens. Actually, a BBC journalist went in and filmed a documentary about the drag queen squat. You can see pieces of that on YouTube if you're curious further. Check out Mainzer Street riots on YouTube. So Germany officially unifies on the 3rd of October 1990. East and West come together, new country is formed. 1 month later, November, 1 month after unification, the West German police say, we can't have whole streets of squatters partying around the clock. They say, we got to throw them out. They say, we got to stop this. So on November 14th, 1990, 2,000 police officers with tanks, with helicopters, with tear gas cannons, with fire hoses, come down to Mainzer Straße and attack the people squatting there. But they'd been tipped off that the police were coming. So the night before, they dig out the street, meters deep trenches. They get together, they flip over cars and trucks and build barricades. For 3 days, there's a riot and a war just a block away from here. And everybody watches live on TV across Germany as they're throwing rocks. These guys in glittery evening gowns are throwing Molotov cocktails off the rooftops. And people start to say, suburban middle-class people start to say, this is wrong. The police shouldn't be attacking the kids. A month after unification, this is what the West German police are doing in the former East. Say, this is worse than the Stasi. And you start to get support around the country for places like this, for artistic, revolutionary places. 3 senators actually had to resign over this mess. So now we have beautiful places where you can come and see it. You can hang out with us. I'd like to thank you for coming today. My name is Max. Hopefully you enjoyed the tour. There is a donation button just below the video. It makes a huge difference. Anything you can give really helps so much. But this is Max, live in Berlin, signing out. Oh, my nose is dripping.